Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, and it's my favourite time of the week because it's time for Wrestlers of the Week. And what a week it's been. I mean, I say that every week, but this week, it's not just been great action, it's been great action in lots of little different places. This might be one of the most diverse Wrestlers of the Week weeks of all time, but we've got some WWE, we've got NXT UK, we've got Mae Young Classic. I have just named 3 WWE centric things there. We got a few from elsewhere too, but there's been so much wrestling this week. There's been a lot. I feel I might cry. Let's look at the honourable mentions. Quite a few to get through this week. First of all, Tegan Knox, who, I mean, I know her better as Nixon Newell from back in the WCPW days, but she's one of the best women's wrestling baby faces in the entire world, and it was so sad to see her injury on the Mae Young Classic this week. She kept going through the match as well bravely until they just had to call it off, and I hope that once she's had time to recover and she comes back, everyone gets behind her and just really, like, you know, help push her through this, because it's not the first injury she's had, and hopefully she comes back even stronger because of it. So that's a bit of a sad one. Then we've got Seth Rollins, who did double duty on Monday Night Raw, which is just nothing for him because he's like some kind of crazy marathon man. Mark Davis, who had a really good match with Walter, where they just chopped each other until they were bleeding, that sort of thing. If you're into that sort of thing, then good for you. No, to be fair, it was a really good match. Shingo Takagi, the new LIJ member over in New Japan, has been taking part in this World Tag League and is just like the star of the tag tournament so far. He's really holding his own as the newcomer in New Japan, really using all that momentum, and is looking really, really bloody jacked as well for a junior. Bit suspicious there, Shingo. Noam Dar as well had a great match with Pete Dunne for the WWE United Kingdom Championship on the inaugural episode of NXT UK. That's the honourable mentions out of the way. Let's get into those points. Let's dish them out. Make it rain on them. Make it rain on the lovely wrestlers, on Wrestlers of the Week. That's better to say. That's better than what I was going to say. Now on to number 10, picking up 1 point. It's the man of the hour, not Leo Rush, not Keith Lee, that was in his theme tune as well. The man of the hour. No, it's Drew McIntyre. Now, Drew McIntyre is in a very interesting position on Monday Night Raw. He's kind of like one of those figures in Game of Thrones who holds all the cards. I don't know, I don't really watch it that much. Littlefinger's probably one of them. Tyrion. Aren't they kind of elusive figures who you could, like, they could sort of make a big decision and it could change the whole course of the show? Drew's like about to turn babyface maybe, or maybe he's just about to go uber heel on Braun Strowman. Can't quite work which one's the babyface and which one's the heel, but the post-match segment on Raw after the main event seemed to imply that Drew was like sticking up for himself and sticking up for Dolph Ziggler after Strowman went rogue. So in my mind, maybe he's going a little bit babyface, I don't know, but I'll be very interested to see what happens. He was great in that main event 6-man tag match, and he was great in his singles match earlier on in the night against Seth Rollins. He lost, he couldn't progress to the World Cup, but as we've learned so far, it's literally only Americans in the World Cup, and as Drew is from Scotland, never had a chance. No chance in hell you've got. Do you see what I've done? Because that's the theme tune of Vince McMahon, and I don't know if you know this, but he's not just a commentator in the 90s, he's actually the man behind WWE. So I should point, this is a thing called kayfabe. Wrestling's not actually a legit like competition, it's all scripted. I don't know if you know this. Let's move on to number 2. Number 9. I've thrown myself right off. Number 9 is actually a big old loser this week. She lost her match in the Mae Young Classic but looked very impressive in defeat, and it's none other, and a newcomer to Wrestlers of the Week as well, it's none other than Mia Yim. Mia Yim had a really good match, one of the best of the tournament so far, against Toni Storm, and looked really, really good. And even though she lost, she had that kind of Cedric Alexander moment that he had back in the Cruiserweight Classic. I mean, Triple H didn't come out on stage and go, yeah, we're going to sign her up, but backstage she was offered a WWE contract, so she is going to become more of a full-time member of the roster, presumably down on NXT, which is, I guess, more suited to her style for now. She's kind of indie-rific in a way. She's got all the moves, all the flash. I think she could also thrive on the main roster, but I really think that for now, NXT is the perfect position for someone like Mia Yim. She's got a great look, she's strong, she's quick, she's agile, she's an all-rounder, a true all-rounder, and I cannot wait to see what she does next. But you lost in the Mae Young, didn't you, Mia? If you were that good, you would have beaten Toni Storm, wouldn't you, Mia? Once again, wrestling's not actually like a legit sporting competition. Let's carry on. Number 8, the man who main evented the first ever episode of WWE NXT UK and the United Kingdom champion. Still, after about 7 years with the belt, he's still holding on to it. It's PTD, Pete Dunne. Now, big PTD had a really good match against Noam Dar. I really enjoyed it. as it was pointed out by, I think, 2 separate reviews I read online, maybe just the one, but basically everyone I saw comment on this match went, it was a really good match, but Pete Dunne's been killing it for so long now that it doesn't really register on his best matches of 2018, so that's a bit sad, but it was still a really good match. We can't overlook it, nor can we overlook the efforts of Noam Dar in the challenger position, which is why we gave him that honourable mention at the start of the video. But Pete Dunne, again, was like at his merciless, punishing best, where he, I mean, the spot that I remember the most is when Dar went for his pinky finger taunt, forgetting that Pete Dunne entirely revolves around and is fueled by, indeed, the breaking of fingers and small joint manipulation. He grabbed Noam Dar's fingers, didn't just snap them in like Marty Scurll fashion, he actually put them vertically on the canvas and stomped down. It was grim. With that win, Pete Dunne remains the WWE United Kingdom champion, and honestly, I don't know who's going to take the belt from him. I mean, it's good, and it's really strengthened the belt, the fact that WWE have kept it on him for so long and made him look so unbeatable and so strong. But at the same time, I honestly can't really buy any other UK wrestler at the moment, or UK division wrestler, taking that title from him. I really don't know what they're going to do about that. But, I mean, one thing's for certain, whoever takes it from him is going to receive a huge boost because they've beaten Pete Dunne, the Bruiserweight. And then once he's, once the belt's gone, will he stay in NXT UK? Will he move over to, like, NXT proper? Could he even go to the main roster? The world is Pete Dunne's mean, finger-breaky oyster, and I can't wait. Number 7, a man who should really be higher on the list this week, and he was sabotaged by circumstances maybe out of his control a little bit. It's Johnny Impact, and I'll explain why. So Johnny Impact, or Johnny Mundo, or John Morrison, or Johnny Nitro, we know him by many names. He's the handsome one with the hair. He won the Impact Wrestling World Championship on Sunday at Bound for Glory, defeating Austin Aries in the main event with a brainbuster, which is Aries' finisher. He stole it. He had it saved on one of the shoulder buttons, and then he hit his finisher button at the same time, and then he hit his own finisher. He must have had 2 in storage. Although he got a burn 2 to steal one, so he must have had 3 finishers saved up by this point. Used 2 on the brainbuster, used the final one for Starship Pain, picked up the victory, and then Austin Aries just stood up and walked to the back. Speculation has since been rife on the internet. Is it a shoot? Is it a work? Did Austin Aries mean to do this to sabotage Johnny Impact and vent his anger at the company for not keeping the belt on him? Or was this all part of Impact Wrestling's plan? Was it a work shoot? Were we meant to think it was real, but actually they're trying to portray Austin Aries as the kind of loose cannon that he often actually is in real life? I really hope that it was a shoot, not because I support what Aries did at all. I just would rather that is what happened than have Impact fall back into their old ways. I don't want to see work shoots all over the place, especially not ones that make the new champion look weak. If it wasn't for that, I reckon Johnny Impact would be much higher on this list this week, but because of that ending, which was no fault of his own, he only gets a few points. He only lands in 7th place, picking up 4. You know what, I feel bad for him. And I don't know why I feel bad for him, because he's handsome, tall, successful, talented and muscular, but I still feel sorry for the poor little lamb. Number 6, a man who could murder me without even... If I was put in a fight with Minoru Suzuki, it's Suzuki by the way, if I was put in a fight with Minoru Suzuki and he was like forcibly stuffed full of sleeping pills and I was completely alert and had been through like a training regime for like 6 months or whatever, he'd still break my legs in his sleep. And that's just, in the words of Tupac Shakur, that's just the way it is. So Suzuki was also a big old loser this week, like Maya Yim. I can't be calling Minoru Suzuki a loser, that's awful. At Rev Pro's Global Wars, he lost the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship, and in doing so, I guess, really sort of didn't let go of it easily. It was a big heavy hitter of a main event. I saw one review online, can't remember who it was by, but they described it as a match between 2 dads in a car park, and that's pretty much what it was. His opponent was Tomohiro Ishii, who held the belt before him actually, managed to successfully regain it, but as you can imagine from Ishii and Suzuki, they really beat the holy hell out of each other. There were some hard strikes. It was a nasty match, but also, crucially, a very entertaining one too. I often wonder during times like these, once Suzuki seems to have finished a feud, although presumably he'll get a rematch, but who's he gonna be matched up with next? And whoever it is, no matter who it is, I always think, oh, I feel really sorry for you. I feel really bad for you, and I hope that you're okay. I think the one man that I didn't feel bad for when they were matched up with Suzuki was actually Matt Riddle over WrestleMania weekend, because they just sort of did that to each other a lot, and it's the only time I've seen Suzuki lose a strike battle where they sort of were giving each other full blast, and then Suzuki at one point went right and grabbed a headlock or something, and I thought, he's been rattled by Matt Riddle, who, yes, is one of the most naturally gifted fighters the UFC has ever seen, and that's totally fair enough. But the point is, Suzuki lost his belt, but it was a good match, so he picks up some points, and I couldn't beat him in a fight even if he was unconscious. That's a general summary of what I've been trying to say. Number 5, I'm a head banger. I don't like dubstep that much in real life. It's some songs I quite like. That theme tune from El Fantazmo, by the way, is literally, it's a banger. It gets me so higgity hyped. Can't control my arms. But it's not just his music that I like about El Fantazmo, it's also his wrestling. He is a flippy boy, handsome man from Canada land, and is just cool as ice, lads. Cool as anything. I sound like a mum. Oh, your friend's cool as ice, isn't he? What's he called, El Fantazmo? Bring him over for tea one day. El Fantazmo had a match at Defiant Wrestling against Will Ospreay. It was really, really good. They're two really well-matched opponents. You know, they're both agile as anything. They can both also mix it up with sort of nice strikes and nice technical stuff too. So they're kind of more all-rounders than people give them credit for, but Fantazmo was great. I really like him, and I don't know if he's ever actually wrestled him before, but I really, really want to see him against Angelico, because they're both kind of agile and nimble and daring, and they both wear lime green as well. El Fantazmo has been, for the past sort of year and a half, maybe 2 years now, but I'll say a year to be safe. For the past 12 months, Fantazmo has been on the cusp of something great, and I think that honestly, by this time next year, he'll have made great strides in his career, whether that's over in NXT, whether it's just getting his name out there more on the indie scene and becoming an even bigger star, whether it's maybe going over to Japan and doing some stuff in the juniors division. I really think the world, like I said about Pete Dunne earlier, is his oyster. I think he's got all the tools required to make a huge success out of himself. It's not his first visit to Wrestlers of the Week, I believe, but I think next year, if this series continues, he's going to accrue a lot more points next time around. Next up, number 4, it's Toni Storm. Now, Toni Storm had that match with Mia Yim in the Mae Young Classic that I mentioned earlier on, and honestly, was maybe my favourite match of the tournament so far. I really enjoyed one of Mercedes Martinez's matches as well, but I think that the great thing about Toni Storm, and this nicely illustrates it, is that she isn't just a wonderful wrestler, she's a consistently wonderful wrestler as well. What I mean by that is you never ever really see a bad Toni Storm match. She always operates at a high level regardless of her opponent, and that's really nicely proven by the Mae Young Classic. So last year, a lot of my favourite matches in that tournament featured Toni Storm. I think my two favourites were probably either her versus Viper or her versus Kairi Sane, and they both feature Toni Storm. Same again this year around. One of my favourite matches so far has been Toni Storm versus Mia Yim, and I hope that she carries this form on, and I can't wait to see her semi-final matchup. It's worth mentioning as well that Toni Storm is also a member of the NXT UK division, and I think would be a fantastic candidate to hold the NXT United Kingdom Women's Championship at some point down the line. Don't know how soon that opportunity will come along, but I think she's the right sort of babyface in a kind of AJ Styles way, where she's a good guy, she's just really hard to beat because she's an excellent all-round wrestler, and I think she could really take on all comers and really show what, you know, even though she's not British herself, she could really show everyone what the UK women's division is all about, because it's one of those scenes right now that's just sort of quietly going from strength to strength, and I think at some point in the near future we're all going to go, oh man, there's all these great women's wrestlers in the UK, why did we not pay them more attention sooner? Obviously I paid them more attention coming from the UK, but I think on a global stage everyone's going to be like, oh, there's quite a lot of good wrestlers there in the UK. Number 3, he's the man for me, Tomohiro Ishii. What have I done? What have I done? Number 3 is Tomohiro Ishii, who had that big match, the one reviewer, I've forgotten his name, referred to it obviously as the two dads in a car park match against Minoru Suzuki for RevPro's British Heavyweight Championship, and guess what? He won the belt back, becoming a 2-time champion. I actually checked the title's history. I thought that he would have been the first 2-time champion because the belt hasn't really had that many holders in its history, but then I realised no, apparently he's the second 2-time champion, and the first one was a man by the name of Zack Sabre Jr. Harry Potter's not the only wizard from the UK. Expelliarmus, lads. Ishii, right, doesn't get enough credit. He's one of the highest people on the Wrestlers of the Week league table, obviously, but even by me, he doesn't get enough credit. He is, honestly, one of the best wrestlers in the world, and it's not just because he's really hard and like difficult to beat and he really portrays himself as a badass. It's his selling. When Ishii is hurt, it's shocking and realistic. You think, oh, they've managed to knock Ishii down, well, they must be great. even though his gimmick sort of lends itself to just getting himself over, he's the Stone Pitbull, he's really hard, kind of like in a Taz way. Actually, similarly to Taz, sometimes when Taz, lost, especially in his ECW heyday, it was like, whoa, Taz has lost. When Ishii clutches his body or is knocked out during a match, you think, Ishii's gone down, and no matter how many times he does this, always seems to make his opponent look like a monster, and that's a really important skill for a wrestler to have. I think that combined with his unique look and his menacing, intimidating demeanor, just makes him bloody brilliant. I'm starting to see why Sam loves him so much. I really am. Number 2, leave my family alone. It's not their fault, it's only mine. Number 2 is William Ospreay. Now this might be the last time we see Will Ospreay on Wrestlers of the Week for quite a while, because he has sadly picked up an injury, I think to his ribs, and he's going to take some time off to not only heal from that injury, but I think to just generally give his body a rest, because as a wrestler, and especially one who wrestles Ospreay's sort of high risk-taking style, those little injuries can really build up, and suddenly, I guess, you'll wake up in quite a lot of pain. So I think it's probably for the best that he takes a little bit of a rest. But also, he delivered 2 wonderful matches this week. One against El Fantazmo in Defiant Wrestling, as I've already mentioned. Also, he had what is being reported as, and I watched it, and it was really, really good. I can't quite decide if it's on that level or not yet, but what's being described as a match of the year candidate, like a genuine match of the year contender, in OTT over an island. Now the refreshing thing about that match is the fact that Ospreay, because he's a bit cocky and he's obviously gone on to great successful things overseas, in promotions like Progress and that sort of area, he's actually a bit of a heel. The crowd sort of boo him and he kind of plays up to it in a really cocky way, like, oh, I'm back, but I'm the big fish in the small pond now. You can't touch me. I've won the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. I was the best of the Super Juniors. And he kind of really portrays that through his wrestling style in those matches, and he tweaks it a little bit to really heel it up. But over an OTT, he is mega babyface. It was nice watching this match. It was a bit of like old school Ospreay stuff where the crowd are just fully behind this kid who's just got this insane talent, and I really liked it. I like Ospreay as a heel, except when he's taken out on me, but I think he's a really underrated heel, and when he's given the mic as a bad guy, he can really go with it. But when you've got that style of wrestling, you're always going to be a better babyface. I love watching Ospreay when the whole crowd's behind him, because he just pulls it out the bag every single time. But not quite enough to earn him the 10 points this week. Who was it? Let's find out. So number 10 in my Wrestler of the Week is one of the higher placed men on the Wrestlers of the Week table, but not someone who's actually picked up the full 10 points before. He's just been hitting consistent 8s, 7s, 9s, and he was also Will Ospreay's opponent in that OTT match, and still the OTT champion. It's Volta. Now equally, as I said, it was really refreshing to see Ospreay as a pure 100% babyface in that match. Really refreshing to see the crowd against Volta, because yes, everyone kind of loves him, he's a lovable giant, he hits really hard, and often the people that he hits are bad guys and everyone likes that. But when Volta's a heel, my god, when you're built like that again, and when you wrestle a style like that, I think you're just meant to be a heel sometimes, and this match was certainly a perfect example of that. The crowd were really behind Ospreay, not just because he's really good, but because Volta's really, really good at being an overly serious, overly proud, massive bad guy, hitting people really hard, making everyone wince, and being the big bully of the match. And yes, obviously a lot of that depends on genetics and natural size and that sort of thing, but a lot of it's about demeanor and the way you carry yourself, and he is an expert when it comes to that sort of psychology. When this match was announced and seeing the reactions of the crowd and everything, and there were so many near falls, I actually thought that Ospreay was going to win and become the OTT champion. I forgot maybe that Ospreay has an insanely busy schedule, like 2 continents away, so I guess maybe it wouldn't have made that much logistical sense, but the match was so good that I actually forgot about that, and I just saw it as a pure match between 2 guys who could equally win. Volta did pick up the victory and is still the OTT champion, and I'm just wondering who's going to take that from him. My prediction is that probably someone like Jordan Devlin will get a big heroic win over him and really get a boost, but for now, it looks like Volta's just on top in OTT, unbeatable, just like he is in Progress when he beat Tyler Bate at Wembley. I was there for that. Have I mentioned that before? I was at that show. Had a really good time. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the standings on our weekly league table. Will Ospreay has of course extended his lead over Kenny Omega in 2nd place. Volta has jumped up into 5th, leapfrogging Matt Riddle. Ishii goes above 2 New Japan rivals in Takahashi and Ibushi, both of whom failed to score this week, although of course in Takahashi's case that's because he's still sadly out recovering from that nasty neck injury. A little bit further down as well, Minoru Suzuki and the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne have both jumped ahead of several wrestlers, including Andrade Cien Almas, Keith Lee and Alistair black. So a nice little updated league table there, and we'll go to the outro. So that is it for my Wrestlers of the Week, week 42, I believe. Wow, we've come so far. There's 10 weeks left in theory, although I don't know if it's gonna overlap slightly or underlap with the end of the year. There's not that long left. Has Will Ospreay accrued enough points to really secure that title? Or will someone like Kenny Omega, Zack Sabre Jr., maybe someone like Walter or Ishii, who we've seen this week, will they be able to catch him and claim the crown of my Wrestler of the Year? Don't know what I'm going to give the winner. Probably a little trinket or a trophy or something. We'll have to sort that out, actually. There's not long left. Oh God, there's like a month and a bit left. I'm going to have to really sort... Oh, no, there's like 2 months left. I've got time. Adam, we need to get a trophy. I need to sort that out. Thank you very much for watching this video. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to Jack the Jobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic and check out our Patreon as well too at patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, if you haven't already, to hit subscribe and to join us.